parents' house in the village of Ferring.
Clutching a comforting reminder of home, 6-year-old Charlotte Payne joined her family's visit to the incident room. Her brothers Lee and Luke had asked to see it, their mother Sarah ready with words of gratitude.
Darren, we just want to say thank you to everyone at home.
Inside, they got a sense of the Herculean task now facing the officers looking for Sarah. 4,500 calls have now come in from the public. The boys went for a closer look before the family left to meet senior officers. They later came out, their tone of confidence undiminished.
It's overwhelming, actually. It is overwhelming. Everything that can be done is being done. So, again, it's just a matter of time.
Local people today united in prayer for Sarah's return. The canon at St Mary's Church near Littlehampton spoke of a community stunned and shocked into a feeling of hopelessness.
We share this week the anxiety and the distress of little Sarah Payne's family. We have been praying earnestly for Sarah's safety and restoration to her family throughout this week, this very long week.
In one more push for information, the family tonight released this picture of Sarah on the right embracing her younger sister Charlotte, the pair captured recently by their brother Luke. After 8 days, both the family and the police are convinced that releasing images like that can still make a difference. The Paynes say they intend to stay in the area whilst there is still hope, preparing themselves for answers, whatever they may be. Duncan Kennedy, BBC News, Littlehampton in West Sussex.
The Fijian rebel leader George Speight has signed an agreement with the army aimed at resolving the country's political crisis. Gunmen, led by Mr. Speight, stormed Fiji's parliament in May, taking the democratically elected government hostage. It's reported that the army, which has been running the country, has made major concessions which will end the island's multiracial democracy.
Fiji's traditional tribal chiefs have turned the clock back, abandoning democracy and racial tolerance. But even they are really the puppets of the coup leader George Speight. This failed businessman is the real winner, as he signed a deal with military leaders to entrench control by ethnic Fijians and also end the sharing of power with the substantial minority of ethnic Indians. Mr. Speight won all this by holding the Prime Minister of Fiji hostage for the past 7 weeks. He says all 27 prisoners will only be freed next Thursday.
Thursday morning, of the day of the Great Council of Chiefs, will mark the abolition of the existing interim government and their removal, essentially, which will pave the way for the chiefs to make probably the most important decision, in Fiji's history.
Under the Fiji agreement, Mr. Speight's hostages will be freed, including Mahendra Chowdhury, the deposed Prime Minister from the Indian community. That should happen as Fiji's tribal leaders choose a president and vice president. Crucially, of course, Mr. Speight has insisted on amnesty for himself for kidnap and other crimes. All this is meant to end almost 2 months of turmoil, with violence directed against the Indian community, resented for their relative wealth and success. Tourists and their spending quickly fled what's meant to be a peaceful paradise, but now Fiji faces far wider international isolation. The beaches may stay deserted and Fiji will be shunned by the rest of the Commonwealth for as long as racism replaces democracy. James Robbins, BBC News.
Thousands of people have marched in the South African city of Durban in protest at the high cost of drugs that treat AIDS. Winnie Madikizela Mandela, the former wife of Nelson Mandela, told the crowd that HIV and AIDS had to be tackled with the same commitment that the country used to fight apartheid. More than 24 million people are infected with HIV in Africa, and campaigners say that drugs cost many times the average annual wage. Today's march came ahead of the first International AIDS Conference in Africa. The man at the centre of the row over where to hold the 2006 World Cup says he's resigning. Charlie Dempsey from New Zealand abstained in the final round of voting, giving the tournament to Germany. He still hasn't publicly explained why he ignored a mandate to vote for South Africa. A 3-day conference to debate the shape of Labour's next general election manifesto has ended in Exeter. Delegates at the party's National Policy Forum approved papers on workers' rights, the economy and education, but they called for several issues to be put to the vote at the next Labour Party conference, including lowering the voting age to 16.
There was no shortage of cabinet ministers ready to listen. Labour was anxious to demonstrate that its policies could be challenged and changed. One surprise was that the forum forced the leadership to allow a debate at party conference on reducing the voting age from 18 to 16.
Young people at the age of 16 can pay taxes, they can get married with the consent of their parents and have children, they can serve in the armed forces and fight for their country, and therefore it may be necessary to consider whether they should also obviously be able to vote.
The party leadership were convinced the forum had worked.
We had the votes, we've had days of debate, days of discussion, and now we've got it. It's the most democratic forum of any political party, and I'm quite proud of it.
But there was disappointment on the left that so few of their challenges succeeded.
The one I feel particularly strongly about, again I think most grassroots Labour Party members feel particularly strongly about, was an amendment saying that the system of giving vouchers to asylum seekers and dispersing them around the country was wrong and should be repealed. That's not even going to be put to conference.
The Labour Party says the system shows that party members can force votes on minority issues, but the Policy Forum has yet to prove that it really is able to challenge the leadership on the likely contents of Labour's next manifesto. Nicholas Jones, BBC News, Exeter.
The former BBC Director General John Birt, now Lord Birt, is to become a government advisor on crime. Lord Birt won't be paid for the part-time post. The Conservatives say it's another example of the Prime Minister appointing cronies to official positions. The Church of England General Synod meeting in York is debating the controversial question of whether to allow women priests to become bishops. At the moment, the 2,000 female members of the clergy are banned from holding high office.
Synod members know that when it comes to deciding about women bishops, they're treading on glass. Most want to allow this next step, but they fear antagonising the traditionalists. And the traditionalists feature some of the church's biggest hitters. Their leader is the Archbishop of York, who's always been against women clergy. Today, the Archbishop was having his new portrait unveiled. Many opponents of women bishops have threatened to leave the church. Dr. Hope is keeping his options open.
For the time being, I remain within the Church of England.
For the time being, but does that mean that you may not remain in the Church of
No,
England?
I mean, I am committed to the Church of England. That's where I've attempted to enable those opposed as well as those in favour to remain.
The Archbishop of Canterbury is in favour of women bishops when the time is right. Campaigners for women's equality in the Church are confident they will win, but they admit to being frustrated by the slow pace.
They're very committed to their ministry now, whether or not they ever become bishops. But I think, on the other hand, they can see that it is discouraging younger women from coming into the church as priests, because it's sort of like, you know, the proverbial stained glass ceiling.
It'll still be at least 10 years before the first woman bishop is consecrated. In the meantime, the church will have to grapple with an issue which already threatens to open up all the old divisions which split congregations in the early 90s. Emily Buchanan, BBC News, York.
Sport now in golf. Lee Westwood has won the Smurfit European Open at the K Club near Dublin for the second successive year. Westwood, who hit 8 birdies in his final round, finished on 12 under par to win by 1 shot from Argentina's Angel Cabrera. Westwood collects a winner's cheque of £250,000. Rain brought an early halt to play at Lord's, where England were playing the West Indies in the latest match in the one-day series. England had reached 158 for 8 in the 44th over when rain forced the players off for a second time. With no sign of a break, a decision was made to abandon the match. And at Wimbledon, the men's singles final may have to be carried over to